you should be able to see the attendee box there, Daniel.
Yeah.
Afternoon, everyone. We'll kick off and we'll give everyone a minute just to dial in, and then we'll kick off.
Kia ora and welcome everyone. Just give it another 30 seconds or so. Just got a few more people joining us. Welcome along, and great to have so many of you here. A lot of familiar names in the attendees and a few new people, so welcome along. Kia ora, warm Pacific greetings to everyone. My name is Daniel Ludlam. I'm the chair of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council. Welcome along today. Great to have so many people here. And as previously mentioned, great to see a few familiar names and a few familiar faces on screen. Welcome to the first of our ADB webinar series, webinar number 1 on the Pacific Region Energy Infrastructure. We've got 2 more events following on from this on Wednesday, the 20th of October. For those who haven't registered, we're delving into the water infrastructure through the Pacific region. And on Wednesday, the 3rd of November, we've got our event focusing on the transportation infrastructure. Great series of events, and there's been a huge amount of interest already. It's great to have so many of you along today. So we're joined by Takeshi Shiihara from ADB today, and going to be hosted by Devon Brown of Hitachi. So great to have everyone along. A little bit about New Zealand Pacific Business Council. We're a volunteer, non-government funded organisation whose mission is to promote bilateral trade between New Zealand and the Pacific Islands. We're focused heavily on promoting two-way trade and looking forward to growing that into the future. We've got quite a lot planned over the next 12 to 18 months, including launching an online platform where we can connect people in the current climate where travel is so difficult to achieve. And we're looking forward to growing our base and working alongside NZTE, and very excited to have David Dewar, the Trade Commissioner for the Pacific, with us today. He'll be speaking very shortly. I'll just get Ronan to bring up a screen and show a little video. I would welcome anyone who has an interest in trade either into the Pacific or from the Pacific into New Zealand to join us. There's a small membership fee that helps to fund some of the amazing work that we're doing. And as we look to grow and expand on that, the contribution from our members is invaluable. So just leave you with a few words from this, and then I'll hand over to David.
Kia ora, my name is Daniel Ludlam. I'm the Managing Director of Timber Baron, a bulk building materials supplier into the South Pacific.
Hi, I'm Catherine Sumter. I'm also the Vice Chair of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council, and I'm also a commercial lawyer. I have clients who come from the French Pacific territories.
Hi, my name is Greg Fuller, and I work for Fletcher Construction South Pacific.
My name's Bob Weston from NTEC. We design and manufacture equipment for electrical infrastructure projects.
One of the key things for our business in joining the Pacific Business Council really has been to connect with like-minded individuals, particularly business owners, for shared experiences and build connections of people within New Zealand who are exporting and also with businesses that are in the Pacific.
I wanted to get a better understanding of how to do business in the Pacific, but also get business exposure and be able to be part of a wider business network in New Zealand, but also in the Pacific.
Our membership of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council has given me
access to people and organisations that do business in the Pacific markets.
Specifically, potential customers, potential suppliers, and people from other organisations that
share an alignment in promoting potential opportunities and developing and maintaining relationships.
Those networks and connections are truly powerful, and the opportunity to give back and help support other businesses that are wanting to get involved in the Pacific has been truly invaluable.
You get to attend webinars, networking events, and increase your business exposure by being a member.
Encourage anyone who's interested in joining to click the link below.
Come and join us.
Awesome, and I've posted a little link in the chat there. It's great for the New Zealand Pacific Business Council to be partnering with NZTE to bring this ADB webinar series. And for a few words from NZTE, I'll pass you across now to David.
Thank you, Daniel, and kia ora, everybody. Look, it's a pleasure to be here to join you all today and to be partnering with the NZPBC on this really useful event. Many of you may already know me, having possibly joined the previous session that NZPBC very kindly hosted for me to introduce myself as New Zealand Trade and Enterprise's new Trade Commissioner for the Pacific. I'm based in Suva in Fiji with responsibility for the Pacific region. And so I'm sure I know many people on the line. And for those I don't, I would be really keen to meet you all at some point. New Zealand Trade and Enterprise is, of course, the New Zealand government's international business development agency. We work with New Zealand companies to grow their business in offshore markets. And the Pacific, of course, is a really critical regional trading partner for New Zealand, with exports of around $2 billion each year. And of course, within that export mix, our infrastructure providers, our manufacturers, and our services providers play a really critical role in that. And so it's fantastic to see so many people dialing into this webinar to explore some of those opportunities. One of the key parts of our strategy at NZTE for the Pacific is to ensure that we're working very closely with all of our partners in the region. And I'd like to name check a couple of those because I've seen them as participants to this session today. So I'm talking particularly about some of our other government partners, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, as well as our other government partners in the region, such as the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Australian Trade and Investment Commission, Austrade, and of course, Pacific Trade Invest, all of whom are closely engaged with this council. And I know some of whom are on the line today. So kia ora and welcome to our partners there as well. The New Zealand Pacific Business Council is an absolutely critical partner for us as well. Business councils provide a really important service for New Zealand businesses wanting to access the region and providing opportunities like this. And so I would really like to echo Daniel's words of encouragement for those who are not already members to consider joining the council. It's a very effective mechanism for getting information about what's happening in the region, but also as a way to engage with us. At the same time, I would hope that you would also consider signing up with NZTE. Unlike the NZPBC, you don't have to pay a fee to engage with us. We are already funded out of your taxpayer dollars, and so you might as well get the benefit that we can provide. So I'll be very happy to be in contact with you separately about how you can do that but firstly, you can check out www.nzte.govt.nz or call our 0800 number, which we can provide in the chat. I'm delighted to be here today with the ADB, which is a really critical development agency in the region. And so I will throw over now to Devon to introduce our speaker. And kia ora again, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel and David. Hey, look, welcome everybody once again. My name is Devon Brown. I'm an executive member of the New Zealand Pacific Business Council. I'm going to be your MC today. My day job is working for Hitachi's Power Grids division. I've been in power grids for 25 years plus nowadays. Formerly at a former business of mine, I was an EPC contractor building substations and small power plants in the Pacific, particularly in Samoa, Kiribati, some Tonga and Fiji. Many of these projects were funded by the ADB, and I'm very excited today to have the ADB along to present what their investment strategy is in the Pacific region around the energy sector. I believe it's a first for New Zealand that they've conducting this series of seminars with the water and transport seminars yet to come. Just a couple of housekeeping rules first of all. One, we're obviously recording this webinar, so I ask that you keep your on mute, and questions will be at the end of the presentation. If you do want to raise a question or think of a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. You can post your question in that and I'll pick it up at the end as part of role as MC for today. There are polls that will occur infrequently across the presentation. We will ask you questions and you can just click on that poll function and answer it. So look, without further ado, I'd just like to introduce Takeshi Shiihara, Senior Energy Specialist from the ADB. Welcome, Takeshi. Look forward to your presentation today and thank you for dialing in and presenting to us. Over to you, Takeshi.
Thank you very much, Devin, for making a nice introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been such an honor for me to be here. My name is Takeshi Shiihara. I'm a Senior Energy Specialist for the Pacific Energy Division at the Asian Development Bank. Today, I would like to provide you with an overview of our energy sector operations in the Pacific sub-region, together with the resource projects and then a technical assistance or TA to be processed over the next few years, where should you be interested, you could participate as a contractor, suppliers of goods and services, and or consultant through the bidding processes. Let me turn off my video so that I can prevent the potential disruptions to the connection.
Welcome
okay,
to share
so,
screen whenever you're ready, Take.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my PPT for today. I hope you can see this now.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Before my presentation, I would like to explain the two things very briefly. First of all, list of the projects or TA, which I'm gonna present, is still a preliminary one. Most of the projects are at the conceptualization stage. And then there is a possibility that some of the projects might not even push through for a variety of reasons due to, for example, the lack of project preparedness, among other things. And then there is also the possibility that the scope of the projects and then estimated costs, etc., might be changed due to, for example, the change the business priorities and the focuses within the governments. So please take the information as indicative. Second, for the project and the TA, which I'm going to explain today, they are just a snapshot of those projects. During a Q&A session, I will try my best so that I could answer some of your questions. But when it comes to the technical aspects of the projects, I might bring form your questions and then refer them to the respective mission leaders or project officers of the such projects. So in that regard, please bear with me. So now here's my presentation, the outline. My presentation might be a shorter one than scheduled for today. Maybe it's gonna take 15 minutes or 20 minutes at top. But maybe I would like to leave more time for Q&A or interactions with the participants so that I could engage with them and then receive as many questions as possible. My presentation is comprised of the 4 parts. Overview, I'm going to talk about how we have been engaged in the energy sector operations in the Pacific sub-region. And next, I'm going to slightly talk about the focus areas or business priorities when it comes to our energy sector operations in this sub-region. And then next, I'm going to introduce to you our somewhat unique facility, which we call the Pacific Renewable Energy Investment Facility, or PRIF. that's a unique facility to cater to the smaller economies within the Pacific sub-region, as opposed to the bigger economies like PNG and then Fiji. And then next, I'm gonna present briefly a list of the projects and the technical assistance in pipeline to be processed again over the course of the next few years. So that's the outline. So this is an overview about the US Pacific Energy Division and then ADB. I understand my colleague Cindy Tianco must have done another presentation about 2 weeks ago. So in a way, I think that many of the participants might be already familiar with what we do as an institution, ADB. So I'm gonna sort of make it shorter on this part. But once again, for the energy sector operations in this sub-region, Pacific Energy Division is really the focal division to be in charge. So we've been covering the 14 Pacific developing member countries in the Pacific, namely Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Republic of Marshall Islands, the Federated States of the Micronesia, Nauru, Niue, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and then Vanuatu. So whenever there are the good candidate projects that could be financed by the ADB, we of course are going to sit together with their governments or their state-owned enterprises or energy sector utilities to get more information. And once we have come to have a sense that we could finance it, we normally process the technical assistance to conduct their due diligence of their such projects like economic and financial analysis, safeguards due diligence, all those kinds of things. And then after due diligence, we are going to process their loans or grants to finance their such projects. Once approved, those loan or grant projects are going to be owned by the other governments or their agencies so that they could execute them. Typically, those governments and then their agencies, they are going to own them or pass it the proceeds of their loans or grants to state-owned enterprises or utilities in the energy sector for their implementation of their energy sector projects or programs. So, like I said, when we have found out there are good candidate projects to be supported by the other governments or state-owned enterprises, what we call the sovereign sector project, we provide the following 2 types of the technical assistance. One, transaction technical assistance or TLTA. That's a facility we are going to use for, once again, developing the processing of the energy sector projects for Pacific developing member countries or PDMCs. And then there is another facility, what we call the knowledge and then support technical assistance or KSTA. This is another facility which we are going to use for supporting capacity development or energy sector reform efforts of the other governments. And then there is one thing I would like to bring your kind of attention to. Although where there are certain exemptions to be made, normally ADB assisted projects or programs determine the contractors and consultants for supporting their implementation through open competitive bidding processes. So this is a map where we have depicted the extent of our energy sector operations in the Pacific sub-region, covering the 14 member states. Sorry for these small fonts and then information, but let me zoom in. So as you can see, we have projects or programs for the FSM, Federated States of Micronesia, Renewable Energy Development Project, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Tonga, Samoa, Cook Islands, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, and then Nauru. And there are some regional programs which are typically provided through their technical assistance here. For once again, capacity development efforts and then energy sector regulatory reforms. So of course, at the end of after this webinar, I'm going to share this PPT with the secretariat of the NZTE so that you can have it. Let me go on to the next slides. So this is another overview or profile of our energy sector operations. This is a total energy sector investment conducted by the whole energy sectors of the Pacific sub-region over the period of 2007 to 2020, a decade plus. This is inclusive of the government's investments, ADB's funding, and then co-financing sources to the ADB. This amounts in total to the $950 million approximately, of which ADB has contributed $410 million. The biggest share goes to the power generation, which is the 64%, followed by transmission and then the distribution, construction and then upgrades, that's the 26%. And then energy storage, the 7%. That's pretty much reflecting what we have been prioritizing in our energy sector operations, which I'm going to explain in the next slide. So these are the focus areas or priority areas for our energy sector operations in the Pacific sub-region. It's comprised of the four areas: development of the renewable energy resources, promotion of energy efficiency, maximization of access to energy for all, promotion of energy sector reform and capacity development. The first one, development of renewable energy resources. That has been predominantly, so far, addition of renewable energy generation sources. The projects that would fall under this category have been so far concentrated on the solar and then hydropower projects. The promotion of energy efficiency, we've been concerned with mostly right now, increasing efficiency in transmission and then distribution networks, constructions and then upgrades to those power networks. So as you can see, this is the energy efficiency project for the supply side. Our sort of the portfolio right now seems to be the little skewed toward the supply side. So in this regard, we would certainly welcome the opportunities to work with experts which are experienced in the demand side energy efficiency projects. There's the third one, maximization of access to energy for all. We've been supporting government's efforts, the rural electrification or electrification in general to cover the last mile in their electrification efforts. We realize that they have been making significant progress toward this goal, but there is still some way to go. We've been continuously supporting it on that front so that they could complete this development objective. The last one, promotion of energy sector reform and then capacity development. We've been supporting the governments on their various fronts through their technical assistance activities, like helping them to draft Electrification Act, instituting their new energy sector regulatory agency, and or tariff reforms, among other things. So that you could picture our involvements better, I have actually listed some of their projects from our portfolio for each of their focus areas. Development of renewable energy sources. There are two I have listed here. One, Cook Islands Renewable Energy Sector Project, $33 million, ADB funding and then co-financing combined. This is related to the installing solar PV systems and then battery energy storage systems, or BESS, to enable load shifting, grid stability, and the connection of more intermittent renewable energy sources to the grid. And the installation of the BESS is expected to enable the private sector to bring in more renewable to the countries. So that's the one of the such projects that fall under this category. Another one is the FSM, Renewable Energy Development Project, $90 million US, ADB funding only. This is concerned with the constructing ground-mounted solar PVs and then BESS to integrate renewable energies into the main grid. And then this project is also concerned with the installing solar hybrid mini grids and then solar home systems to increase high quality electricity services on a remote island. Another example, the promotion for promotion of energy efficiency. This is actually the one of the proposed projects for 2022, PNG, Power Sector Development Project, $300 million US, ADB funding and then the co-financing combined. It's a fairly large project to our average project or portfolio size. It is expected to expand and then upgrade transmission lines and the substations, building new low and then medium voltage power distribution lines. So this is one of the typical sort of the types of projects when it comes to the promotion of energy efficiency related project on the other supply side. This also comes together with the strengthening the capacity of the energy sector utility in terms of the grid modeling, planning, procurement, utility operation, and then financial management. And another example for the promotion of energy efficiency, that's for ongoing project. RMI, Republic of Marshall Islands, Majuro Power Network Strengthening Project, $2 million US, ADB funding only. This is concerned with installing an advanced metering infrastructure, which will allow MEC, that's executing agency for this project, to manage power more efficiently, decrease network losses, and then improve revenue collection. And this also comes together with strengthening the capacity of the energy sector, utility, capacity development component here. Maximization of access to energy for all. This is from ongoing project. The Vanuatu Energy Access Project, $12 million US, ADB funding and co-financing combined. This is extending grid infrastructure, including 21 kilometers of transmission lines and 79 kilometers of distribution network on the country's two largest grids to connect an additional 1,050 households to the grid, increasing the electrification rate. The last one, promotion of energy sector reform and capacity development. This is through the ongoing technical assistance, TA, regional TA, covering the many countries in the Pacific sub-region, development of the Pacific Energy Regulators Alliance. This is meant to create regional platform among the energy sector utilities in the Pacific so that they can share experience and then expertise each other, and then they benefit from the capacity development interventions from this platform. So this is the facility which I wanted to introduce to you to depict the how we have been sort of taking the differentiated approach between small economies and then big economies in this Pacific region. As you can imagine, you know, our approach would be necessarily different between the bigger countries like PNG and then Fiji, and then smaller economies in terms of their population. Let's just say for the countries like PNG and then Fiji, they are going to necessarily have the bigger size of their projects and then more funding opportunities, large enough to justify the longer time for the processing. So, you know, in this regard, we would normally process the standalone projects to finance the such projects. On the other hand, there are the smaller economies, what we call the what we categorize as 11 smaller Pacific Island countries, or PIC 11, Cook Islands, FSM, Kiribati, Nauru, Palau, RMI, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and then Vanuatu. For those countries, they have a large number of the smaller value projects, which might not be able to justify the long time processing, because they would need to have their projects faster. So in 2017, we have gotten this facility approved by the board. This is a sort of the one of a kind, their unique facility to cater to their such economies. We've been taking the streamlined and then a programmatic approach to cut the certain stages of the normal approving procedure, so that we could bring about those projects to the PIC 11 countries faster than the usual. So long as those projects are qualified for the certain criteria, like those projects related to the renewable energy sector generation or energy efficiency projects, they are not expected to be rated environmental category A projects, and then they are listed one of the priority projects on the national energy sector development planning documents among those criteria. So the board has approved back in 2017 to us, so that we could go through streamlined processes up to 200 million USD for PIC 11 countries projects until 2024. This is also expected to tie up with the other funding sources, like a co-financing and then private sector investments, which is expected to be, this is a notional, 500 million USD. So altogether 700 million USD we can tap into under this facility for such the streamlined business procedures. So we have so far, over the past 4 years, used up the 100 million USD up to that ceiling, 200 million USD. And then we have still gotten the 3 years to go until 2024. So there are likely to be more projects being processed under this facility. In connection with that, there are likely to be more bidding processes and then a consultant recruitment notices being posted onto the ADB website. So this is the Pacific Renewable Energy Investment Facility. Now this is the list of their projects and their technical assistance in pipeline. I have tried to gather as much information as possible from the other project officers involved. And then this might not be sort of the entire list of the other projects, because as I mentioned, some of the projects are still at the nascent stage, and then understandably, such project officers might want to sort of be sure, those important building blocks or pillars should be in place before they are sharing that kind of information. So this is the list of their project I have been able to get from such project officers. So this is the list of their projects for 2021 to 2022. Yes, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Among the 10 projects from for this period, there are 7 investment projects, and then two financial intermediation projects. Sorry, this is not the 10, I think. There are 9. So 7 investment projects and then 9 the financial intermediation projects. So among all those 7 investment projects, they are 3 solar PV and then a BSS projects, 2 transmission line and then a distribution network upgrade projects, and then 2 hydropower projects. Here, solar PV BESS, another solar PV BESS projects. And down here, there are another one. and then the small hydropower project here, and then another one. And then there is also the financial intermediation. This is for regional project. It is supposed to be a channel funds through the national development banks of their governments, so that we can help them finance their clean energy investment. So this is like a financial intermediation loans facilitated by their grants. And then there is another one, financial intermediation loans, which is dedicated for their parable. This is a list of projects for the 2021 to 2022. Now, this is the another list for the 2022 to 2024. There are 7 floating PV projects here, Nauru, Vanuatu, FSM, RMI, and then a floating solar, another one, Tonga, and then a Kiribati. And then 1 transmission, and then a distribution network upgrade project. This one for parable. So this is pretty much it for their projects to be processed between 2021 and then 2023. And then there is the list of the technical assistance I have prepared for today's presentation. This is a 60 years program to be processed for 2021 to 2023. Each TA is expected to recruit their consultants. And then I have put the types of their consultants recruitment requirements here next to the each TA's name. And then the, for example, this one, financial recovery action plan consulting firm. And the project management and the construction supervision consultants. They are concerned with the supporting implementation of projects, of the ongoing projects. And then here is the TRTA, regional TRTA, which is expected to support the processing of the renewable energy projects. So they are going to engage the number of consultants for that purpose. And then this one is another one for the processing of the new project. There are another TA, which is concerned with the capacity development on the energy sector regulation. So this is pretty much it. It might not be too large, the list of their projects, but like I mentioned, I have tried to gather as much information as possible, and then I have some descriptive information for each of those projects here. So I think I might be able to answer some of the following questions the participants might have. So this is essentially the end of my presentation. But before I conclude my presentation, I would like to repeat the two things. As I mentioned, I will try my best to answer your questions. But if you have follow-on questions, please feel free to let us know. I can be the focal person to receive your questions, so that I can check on the information and then respond back to you as early as possible. If I cannot, I refer those questions to their respective mission members, the team leaders, so that your answers or quiz can be responded to the earliest time possible. And then second of all, we make it a practice to disclose every bidding and then consultant recruitment information onto our website under the business opportunities section. So should you be interested in doing business with the ADB, I would like to encourage you to visit our website regularly, so that you can see if there's any new and then updated information on bidding and then a consultant recruitment their notices. Those are two things I wanted to mention at the end of my presentation. We are certainly looking forward to the further collaborations and then business opportunities with your companies and then associations. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Takeshi, thank you very much for your presentation. It never ceases to amaze me the breadth and width of the investment that ADB is undertaking in the Pacific region in regards to energy projects. The diversity is incredible. And I think for New Zealand companies that want to engage in this sector, there's a lot of opportunities that they can target there. I certainly know from my time when I was in that field, doing many of these opportunities, that it can be a little overwhelming at times, but it can certainly be rewarding from a business perspective. We have a question from Martin Garode at MFAT. Welcome, Martin. Is the PRIF, P-R-E-I-F, a grant or loan funding facility? Takeshi.
Yes. Sorry, come again. I think I might have missed the
yeah. Is the PRIF
yes.
P-R-E-I-F a grant or loan funding facility?
Yes, actually, yeah, this is the facility that has allowed us to streamline business processes. This is not really sort of any kind of the budget allocation in advance. It's basically us going through the approving process each and every time. But so long as we are going to process grants or loans up to that limit, 200 million US dollars, the board would allow us to go through their streamlined business processes. That's how it works. So once again, 200 million US dollars, depending upon the country allocations every year, and then among other factors, for example, it's not that we will be able to, for example, the process, for example, for 5 countries, 200 million US dollars for their given particular year, like 2022, because it's not really sort of allocation of that budget in advance. It's basically the approving limit, so that we can tap into such streamlined business process. So basically, under this facility, we can, process potentially many types of products like loans or grants, and then like I mentioned, financial intermediation loans, the result-based lending, those kinds of things. But once again, this is the facility to streamline the business process. That's how this facility works. And then in addition to that, we have the facility transaction TS, facility TRTA, that is expected to support processing of those projects for the eligible projects under this facility. So, but in any event, even so, I think the facility has been sort of able to support such smaller economies business requirements, because we've been able to cut off the processing time by approximately 20%, or for some of the projects even more, in contrast to the normal usual bidding process. And then we expect to see many more projects coming up being processed under this facility, so that we can bring in additional the renewable energy generation sources to those countries, energy efficiency projects, together with capacity development components as well. So that's how this whole sort of platform works. I hope that I've been able to answer your questions.
Thank you, Takeshi. Look, if you do want to answer a question verbally, just raise your hand and we'll unmute you. So just if you want to raise a question verbally, please don't just raise the hand at the bottom of the screen. Click on the raise the hand icon and we'll unmute you. So just kicking off, just to Takeshi, how do we follow the opportunities used? Just if you could re-elaborate that. So from conceptual stage, where can we find these on the ADB website, and how do we follow them as they go through the process? And what we'll do is we'll release any links that Takeshi points us to in the after this meeting to enable the people that attended to be able to look that information up themselves. Takeshi, how do we track the projects as they move from approval stages out to tender on the ADB website? Or
Okay, yeah, thank you. I got your question because I was thinking about how to respond to your question. So yes, you know, for one thing, of course, as I mentioned, you know, there is a publicized information, but there are certain cases where companies and then associations or organizations in the New Zealand might want to check with the certain ADB staff members to see if there are any sort of the potential projects in their pipeline or under discussions. And then we could certainly have the such opportunities, business forums like this, or some other dialogues, because we proactively engage with the our potential business partners, contractors, suppliers of their goods and services, and consultants. Once again, the variety of the the channels. So whenever you have the meetings or the chances to interact with ADB staff members, I would encourage you to just ask your questions freely to those staff members, and then they are willing to share with you their information as much as possible. Of course, it might be, for example, limited to some generic information, like for this country, like Cook Islands, for example. We are thinking about a follow-on project for the renewable energy sector project, which is ongoing, because there is still the unfinished business or further requirement to add there are more renewable energy sources, for example. And then maybe they might want to share with you like a very indicative timelines. Okay, right now we are looking at the conceptualizing of their project at certain point in the 2022. First of all, we are going to publicize the recruitment notices of consultants for due diligence, like the technical due diligence of the BSS, and then the solar PV plant installation, and then a financial and economic analysis expert, and then environments and the social circles experts, something like that. And then you might want to sort of follow on, follow up with those officers, should you be really interested, and then should you really feel that you have their certain expertise and experiences to be engaged in those projects. So that's the another thing you could do. And then taking this opportunity, like I said, I think I would like to personally see the opportunities to work with the companies and contractors from New Zealand. They are increasing. Of course, the ADB has certain business processes to follow. As I mentioned, they are mostly we would need to let projects go through the open competitive bidding processes, but there are certain exceptions depending upon the each business case. I can, for example, receive your questions or general inquiries, and then I can refer your questions or concerns to the right persons, and then of course I will try my best to answer your questions as much as possible. So that's another thing. So I'm sorry for being somewhat generic, but these are probably the something you might want to try to check on the status of our overall portfolio and then projects or programs in the pipeline.
Okay, thank you, Takeshi. It sounds like we can get a little bit of a company, an ADB organizer chart for our region that can help steer our members to the right people to ask queries. So we'll follow that up with Takeshi post this webinar. I have a couple more questions to go, and we're about 10 minutes away from completing. Okay, so no, we've got 3 questions now. Look, one is related to the South Tarawa Renewable Energy Project, and that was held that's in Kiribati. So Takeshi, ADB held a pre-tender briefing meeting for the South Tarawa Renewable Energy Project in Kiribati, and we have a query from Chris Service at Infratech whether you'll be doing one for the Cook Islands, for the solar BESS projects in the Cook Islands. I think they found that quite useful. So interested in your response. So there was a pre-tender briefing held for the South Tarawa Renewable Energy Project by the ADB, and they want to know if a similar one will be held for the solar BESS project in the Cook Islands.
Okay, I was wondering how I should go about this. Shall I share with you a little more descriptive information, on those projects, Kiribati and the Cook Islands? I was wondering, like I said, I have gotten the information, but that might be limited. So I'm just trying to find out, how I should be able, best able to respond to your queries, your questions. Mm-hmm. Because obviously those projects have gotten the large scopes in a way, and then many aspects for us to sort of look into to answer your questions properly. So if you can be a little more specific, that would be extremely helpful.
David, have you got something to add on that?
What?
I do. Yeah, let me just chime in quickly, Takeshi. Thank you very much for the question, Chris. Just to clarify on that webinar, which was recently delivered on the STREP project in Kiribati, that was organised by Austrade and ourselves, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, in partnership with the ADB. So if there's interest and demand, I think we would certainly be very happy to organise a similar set of presentations for some of these other big projects that are coming up. And perhaps the best way for us to take this forward is for us to speak with our colleagues in the region and also with the ADB around how we deliver that. So great suggestion, Chris, and we'll take that on board.
Thank you, David. Much appreciated. Look, we'll move on to the next question. So Takeshi, does ADB finance projects in New Caledonia?
I'm afraid not, because the New Caledonia is not the part of the member countries right now. Yeah, I wish I could be, they are more sort of the responsive to that question, but no, we have no operation for the New Caledonia at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Takeshi. And just one last question. We'll take 2 more questions from the floor. One is that we've got on our chat session is, Niue isn't included under the ZPREF. Is this because it has only just joined ADB, or was it too late to be in PREF, and could it be added later? So somebody's asking about Niue's involvement.
That's actually a good question. Yes, in fact, we are just about to rename this group of countries as the PIC 12 instead of the PIC 11. But as you can imagine, we need to somewhat go through the certain the formal process to add the new member country to the certain facility, those kinds of things. So, but it is going to be added to my understanding. Yes, new has been added, has joined the ADB as a new member country, and then necessarily, they are going to be part of this facility. Instead of the 11, 12 smaller Pacific Island countries. But right now, we still call it the PIC 11, but maybe in a few months or so, I think a new is going to be part of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Takeshi. Look, just a question from my side. Are we able to get a copy of your presentation and circulate it to the members of this webinar?
Yes, of course. As I mentioned, I was actually, intending to share it with your secretariat after this webinar. So once again, please take this information as indicative, but at this point in time, this is the best of the information I'll be able to get from the project processing officers. So, and then for the other informations, like profiles of our energy sector operations, there are other bits and pieces of the information I might be able to extract and then share with NZTE, or the participants for today. Should you be interested to dig up more and then to have a little more detailed information, I could certainly do that. But the intention of my presentation for today was to just provide the participants with a snapshot of our energy sector operations and then the projects in pipeline. So yes, I'm going to share this PPT with you.
Thank you, Takeshi. Look, we're getting close to time today, so I'll just wrap it up. I'd like to thank NZTE and NZPPC for co-hosting today this event. Especially like to thank Takeshi and the ADB for this very informative presentation. A lot of business opportunities in the energy infrastructure sector that the ADB are investing in for New Zealand businesses. So I encourage you to look up the ADB, and we'll circulate some of the presentation that was put out today, as well as the other links that Takeshi talked about during his presentation. So, and if you could all remember to join the NZPPC and the NZTE, we may not be quite free, but we're pretty cheap, let's say. But thank you very much. And once again, thank you for all that attended this webinar. Your interest has been appreciated. I hope you all have a good day and look forward to catching up with you at the next events. Thank you, Takeshi, once again.
Once again, thank you very much for this opportunity. And then I hope I've been able to meet some of your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you.